Good evening, everyone. Real quick, I just want to make sure I'm not doubling with anyone. Sorry for the delay. I had some issues with my HT. Hopefully you can all hear me fine. You're currently listening to the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Night Net. My name is David, call sign November 5, Yankee Alpha November. And once again, you're listening to the UT Austin Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net. You can hear us on the KA5D, University Link Repeater System, and the Oak Hill Amateur Radio Club Repeater System. More information about these repeaters, such as All-Star Link status, frequency and tone information, along with other useful things, can be found at ka5d.com and n5oak.org, respectively. You can also connect on Echolink through the KA5D-R or N5OAK-R nodes. For All-Star, use node 51444. Break. For anyone just now joining us, this is the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Night Net, hosted by me, David, November 5, Yankee Alpha November, net control for this evening. This is a controlled net, meaning stations should refrain from transmitting until designated check-in or comment times. There will not be any scheduled pauses for emergency traffic, but we will yield the air to any breaking emergency. With that in mind, please leave room between check-ins and transmissions to allow for any emergency traffic. If you are having an emergency during this net, please say break, and we will pause the net to try and help. If there's any emergency traffic, please come now. Okay, nothing heard. The UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net is a social net with the purpose of getting a great group of radio operators together to share knowledge, discuss club activities, ask questions, and generally just get to know everyone. We're trying to create a nice social environment for new and old hams alike. Break. All hams are invited to participate, both new and experienced. It's very easy to check into this net. In just a little while, I'm going to ask for check-ins, and I will take down a list of people who wish to participate. Once we have everyone in the first round checked in, I'll go down the list one at a time and give you the floor. Feel free to ask questions pertaining to ham radio or any other family-friendly topics you will find interesting. You can also share what you've been up to lately with everyone when it's your turn to speak. We will open up the net for comments and questions after these periods to help everyone get to know each other. This is the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net, hosted by the University of Texas Amateur Radio Club, call sign N5XU. You can hear us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on the KA5D University Link Repeater System and on the Oak Hill Amateur Radio Club Repeater System. Break. If you're currently a licensed amateur radio operator and wish to participate in this net, you can double-check your repeater settings at ka5d.com/repeaters and n5oak.org/repeaters. My name is David, call sign November 5, Yankee Alpha November, and I'm the net control operator for tonight's net. Would any UTARC members like to share news about the club? Please come now with your name and call sign. Okay, nothing heard. I'll go ahead and fill in. We had our first meeting a little while ago, last Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday. It was a real fun time. Probably the biggest turnout we've ever had. And anyone listening, I know that we have, oh no, I cannot pronounce your name. Okay, we have a new member, Carmania Malota. I'm so sorry. I cannot say your name, but you're listening in, and that's great. No call sign yet, so you can't call in, but I'm glad you get the chance to listen. And, so we had more people show up to the meeting than ever before, and it was a real good time. I'm really happy that we had that level of turnout. Lastly, you can find information about the UT Amateur Radio Club, including dates for events at sites.utexas.edu/November 5 X-ray uniform, not spelled out. If you are a UT student and want to join the UT Amateur Radio Club, please send an email to n5xu@utlists.utexas.edu. Oh, we also have Colby McLean listening. Awesome. Okay, It's time for short time check-ins. Short time check-ins are for operators who cannot stay for the entire net, but who would still like to make it into the log. Oh my god, I'm having such a hard time speaking. I will not open the floor for comments or questions for the short timers after their turn. That way you can call in, say hi, and go about your evening while still participating in the net. If you are a short time check-in, you can go ahead and check in now. This is for anyone who doesn't have a lot of time to spend with us. And before you check in, just make to say this is with a short pause to avoid interference. And then please give us your name and call sign slowly and phonetically. So yeah, come now with your call and name slowly and phonetically.
This is Whiskey Zulu 5, Bravo, Bravo, Sierra, Rusty, Northwest Austin. Short time, no traffic. Thanks for running the net tonight, man.
Alright, thanks for checking in, Rusty. Nice to hear you. Do we have any other short time check-ins? Please come in with this is, short pause, and then give us your name and call sign slowly and phonetically.
This is Kilo India 5, Kilo Sierra Romeo, Steve out to Bastrop. Short time and no traffic.
This is Kilo 5 Juliet Mike, K5JM.
This is KB5MPJ, Kilo Bravo 5, Mike Papa Juliet, Jason in Buda, no traffic.
This is November 5, Alpha, Papa, Delta, Danny in Johnson City, no traffic.
Alright, we have Rusty, Steve, Sam, Jason, and Danny. I forgot to read out your calls, but all short time stations with no traffic. If we have any other short time stations, please come now. Say this is with a short pause to avoid interference. And then please give us your name and call sign slowly and phonetically. Last call for short time check-ins. If you are short of time and want to check into the UT Weekly Amateur Radio Club net, I completely butchered that. If you'd like to check into the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly net, please come now by saying this is with a short pause to avoid doubling. And then please give us your name and call sign slowly and phonetically. Alright, I guess that was it. Time for regular check-ins. And the way this is going to work is, well, I guess first we'll do a station ID. So this is the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net, hosted by the University of Texas Amateur Radio Club, call sign November 5, X-ray uniform. You can catch us here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on the KA5D University Link repeater system and the Oak Hill Amateur Radio Club repeater system. Break. If you're currently a licensed amateur radio operator and wish to participate in this net, you can double-check your repeater settings at ka5d.com/repeaters and n508k.org/repeaters. My name is David, call sign November 5, Yankee Alpha November, and I'm net control for tonight's net. And now for regular check-ins. So if you don't want to talk, just say no traffic and I'll note that down. But otherwise, we'll take check-ins and ask everyone about their week. So if you'd like to check into the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net, please say this is with a short pause to avoid doubling. And then please give us your name and call sign slowly and phonetically.
This Kilo India 5, Papa Zulu, November.
This is Kilo India 5, Kilo Alpha Tango, Stephen, North Austin.
Okay, we have...
This is November 5, Lima, X-ray, Oak Hill.
Would like to join us on the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net. Okay, nothing heard. This is going to be a short net, which is perfect because I have some homework to do. Okay, first we have Ernesto, Kilo India 5, Paz Zulu November. Is there anything you'd like to share with us on the net? Have you cooked up something good or anything you'd like to share about work or anything? Feel free to come now.
This is KI5PZN. Thank you, David, for running the net. You missed there. You doubled with Sky and 5LX. I was trying to check in as well. We had the Austin Club meeting last night, and Jeff and 5MNW had a really good presentation about digital modes. That was very interesting, very cool. And the rest is just, the usual shenanigans, just working and trying to do some radio in between. It's kind of okay. But not spending a whole lot of time during the day. But, find time in the evening for to do a little bit of radio here and there. But other than that, just the usual stuff, David. Thanks again for running the net, and back to you. This is KI5PZN.
Wonderful, Ernesto. I'm going to go ahead and ID. This is November 5, Yankee Alpha November, net control for the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net. And I did want to say, what else was night meant for if not having fun, right? You work all day and then got to do something at night. Well, other than chores and that sort of thing. But yeah, good to hear from you, Ernesto. Glad to hear you're not in jail or dead or something. Yeah, glad you're still around, and thanks for checking into the net. Does anyone have a question for Ernesto? Call sign KI5PZN. Please come now with your name and call sign.
November 5, Lima X-Ray, this is Sky. Just wanted to say hi, Ernesto.
Sky, good to hear from you. Glad you're on line here for the net, checking in as well.
Yeah, I tried to check in, but I doubled because I had been changing some of my radio gear around, and I forgot that I had it on the microphone unplugged. I was scrambling to plug it back in.
At least you grabbed the right mic to talk. I think a couple of weeks ago, I was trying to check into this net, and I had the other radio on, and I was throwing my call and trying to check in on 40 meters, even though I was trying to check into this one. So it could be worse, man. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I'm just going with the flow, man.
Man, good to hear from you. I guess back to that. This is KI5PZN.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And it's good to hear from you as well, Sky. Sorry, I'm a little shaken up. I just got an email about a job offer or interview offer, and I'm pretty excited for that. So, back to the net. Anyways, we have Steven, Kilo India 5, Kilo Alpha Tango. And before I go to you, Steven, I just want to let you know, Sky, that you are in a log and you'll be next. So, Steven, take it away. Anything you'd like to share tonight on the net?
Hi, this is Steven, KI5KT. Yeah, nothing really going on this week in ham radio or just Radio Land, but oh boy, next week's going to be real fun. We're going to be installing some stuff up around the UT area. That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Anyway, back to net, KI5KT.
Wonderful, Steven. Yeah, I hope you enjoy whatever installation you're doing. That sounds real exciting. And, yeah, is it anything to do with the trunk to radio system you guys are, or like the P25, like the police-style radio stuff you guys are working on?
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
Sorry, I'm back on the Baofeng. I was wondering if you are working on your digital trunked radio system, or what's going on?
Yep, that's what I'm working on. That's what we'll be working on is the trunking system. Yeah, that'll be going up here on the 17th, actually. The 17th, early in the morning. We're going to be putting it up and, having to make sure everything's tuned and all that fun stuff because, trunking is one of those things where it's like if you're out of tune, it's just not going to work. So, yeah, a lot of fun coming up. KI5KAT.
Sweet, and I'll have to talk to you about this some other time when I'm not as busy, but would you like to share with the net what trunked radio is and sort of how it works? Is it frequency hopping, or what do you find interesting about trunked radio? And also, where is the repeater getting installed? I believe you said the business building, but I am not 100% sure on my memory there. November 5, Yankee Alpha, November. Back to you, Stephen.
The repeater will be installed on the PMA, co-located with, KA5D. So it's going to be up. Trunking radio is basically where your radio tunes to a control channel and listens for data coming in and it is a frequency hopping kind of thing. So basically what happens is when you want to talk, you press the button, it sends a data burst to the control channel saying, hey, I want a channel on certain talk group, and then the computerized system hands you a channel, you tune to that, it auto-tunes to that channel, and you proceed with your voice. So that's how that works, in a nutshell. So if you're familiar with the Gators system, which is the Austin Police and Public Safety System, let me let it drop. It's similar in technology to that. It's technically the same protocol, P25. So that's what we're doing. It's a free and open source software called DVM Host, Delta Victor Mike Host, and it is based off of the MMDVM platform.
Wonderful stuff, Stephen, and with all that, I'm sure other people will have questions for you, so let's go ahead and open it up. If you have a question for Stephen, his call is Kilo India 5, Kilo Alpha Tango. Please come now with your name and call sign.
Sky N5LX.
What's the question?
Oh, yeah, sorry. My question is, you mentioned something about tuning. Are you referring to center frequency and or frequency stability or what? Because I haven't heard of anybody having any issues with those two things for like decades.
I'm talking about subscriber units, which is basically like the handhelds, the mobiles, frequency drift, basically. If the tune frequency is not if what you tune to is not correct, if the drift is too far off, it just will not work. It doesn't need to be like super stable, but a lot of radios do have to be aligned from time to time. That's what I mean, is if they're out of alignment due to age or other issues, then yeah, that could be a problem.
That's really interesting, because I used to work on Motorola radios and I never heard of that before. So what kind of radios are we talking about? Or if you knew a model or something, that's okay if you don't, but I'm just real curious. I never heard of that issue. The radios for a long time have had a really high degree of stability.
They do have a pretty good high rate of stability, but it's just, if they get abused, knocked around, stuff like that, because that's what they I mean, they're public safety radios. They're going to get knocked around a little bit. I mean, there's no physical parts in it, but it's they just drift over time due to deterioration. And we're talking like 10s to 20s of years out of drifting. It's not going to drift over a year or two. It's just something to be watching out for. And for the radio models that you would need for the system, let me drop it real quick. It would be anything Motorola that does P25, so the XTS models, the APX models, Harris radios, what else? Who else? Kate. If it was a U.S. public safety radio, it probably does P25 trunking.
Okay, that kind of answers my question. It's still puzzling to me. I'm really kind of curious as to what degree of accuracy it needs. That's pretty amazing. I never heard of that before, and I, from what I was aware of, those things were like extremely accurate and pretty much, they were pretty much immune to all kinds of abuse. But that's curious. I guess I'll just hand it back to you, but thanks, I appreciate your explanation.
Yeah, it just really is an over time thing that they just kind of drift. But I've seen it happen where we're trying to get somebody on our network and the radio they get from eBay is out of alignment and it just needs to be aeroflexed and then things work. It could also be, things are narrow banded, so there's a lot less bandwidth to play with. I'm not sure. Because we're doing this up in business band with the business license since you can't do trunking on ham radio. Anyway, I'm going to bring it back to Net KI5KAT.
All right, thank you very much, everyone, and that was a really interesting conversation to listen into. And real quick for ID, my name is David, call sign November 5, Yankee Alpha November, net control for tonight's net. Do we have any other questions for Stephen? Please come now with your name and call.
This is Rick, AI5JT.
Go ahead, Rick.
Hi, David. When you come back, your voice is a little low, just to let you know. About the CTR system going up on the one of the UT buildings, what frequency or what band will this new system be operating in?
It will be on UHF, but it will be in the business band due to, again, you can't do trunking on ham radio. So it's going to be, there's multiple frequencies that it jumps through, but for now, we're still trying to nail down which frequency we're going to use out of the ones that we have licensed for the control channel. But all that information I can get to you offline because we're going to try to make sure that, we don't interfere with anything. But it's mostly on itinerant frequencies right now. And yes, we do have a trunking itinerant.
Awesome. Thank you. And, thanks for joining the net here tonight. AI5JT, back to David.
All right, wonderful. And I need to sort of hurry up through the net. I've got an assignment due in about 3 hours. So we'll go ahead and move on to Sky, November 5, Lima X-Ray. And back to your comment, Rick, on the low audio. I'm aware my base station is down, so I'm using a handheld from my apartment. And there's a lot of metal in between myself and the PMA. Anyways, Sky, anything you would like to share with us today on the net?
Hey, this is N5LX, and thanks for sharing that information about the trunk system, by the way. That's interesting. It sounds like a great project. I always have too many irons in the fire. The latest thing I've been working on is I have a little PAN adapter installed in my IC7300, and I've been playing around with different applications for rig control and for the Spectrum display. I have a little SDR that you use in conjunction with it. And one of the thing that I'm kind of hung up on right now, it's like you always have like a series of obstacles. I'm going to reset. Right now I'm hung up on, I have a Mac desktop, my PC died, and so I'm trying to use this Mac desktop, and it's a great computer, but I'm trying to get VirtualBox to work. I got it installed and everything, but it won't recognize the Windows ISO file. So it's always something. But that's what I've been up to, kind of having a lot of fun playing around with that. That's about it. I mean, I could talk about other things, but I wanted to let you get to your assignment.
Okay, one thing, if you message me another time, I can help you with the ISO file problem. Usually, I don't know how much you know about computers, but the ISO is called it's a disk image file. And if you just put that on the flash drive on its own, it won't really do much. You can use a tool like Rufus or Balena Etcher, or I'm forgetting the last one. There's a tool that will let you put ISOs on a USB flash drive in a certain folder, and then it will decompress them and let you boot into them on command. And I'm just forgetting what it's called. I believe it's a Windows-only utility to set up that flash drive, though, so that is a slight problem. Any comments or questions for Sky? Please come now with your name and call. Okay, Sky, we heard no questions or comments, but I will say the tool I was thinking about is called Ventoy. Victor, Echo, November, Tango, Oscar, Yankee. Some other time when I have more free available time to help you out, feel free to reach out and we can hopefully set your Mac situation straight. Okay, and real quick, I just wanted to say, Rick, Alpha Indy 5, Juliet Tango, if you would like to check into the net, or if you'd like to comment something, you can. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and end the net here. So, Rick, is there anything you'd like to share with the net, or were you not interested in checking in? Back to you.
AI5JT. Yeah, please go ahead and put me down. I can stick around and chat with Sky. Let you go to take care of your classwork.
All right, thank you, everyone. And since I know we have some unlicensed members listening in, one thing I would like to talk about really fast is that the knowledge you gain from doing amateur radio can actually help you with engineering and job prospects. I recently got an interview offer after speaking with a recruiter at the job fair about my experience with ham radio. So, if that is of any interest to you, I highly recommend learning more about amateur radio, getting licensed, and eventually upgrading to general and then extra, and it'll be a good time. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for joining us on the air for the UT Amateur Radio Club Weekly Net break. This net is a service of the University of Texas Amateur Radio Club, call sign N5XU. You can find us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., and if you'd like to join again in the future, make sure to just stick around on these repeaters, and we'll be here next week. We are the official Amateur Radio Club for the University of Texas. You can read about the club, sign up for our email list, and find our event calendar at sites.utexas.edu/November 5 X-Ray Uniform. My name is David, call sign November 5 Yankee Alpha November, and for my QTH here in North Campus, 7-3s. It's been a pleasure running the net, and thanks again to everyone who participated or was listening in. This system is now returned to regular amateur radio use.
AI5JT, thank you very much, N5YAN. N5LX, this is AI5JT.
Yeah, this is N5LX. If David's still listening, I just wanted to congratulate you on getting the interview. I mean, that's a big first step. And interestingly, to me anyway, that's how that was one of the factors that landed me my first kind of entry-level job many, many years ago. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Sky. Does your toolbox of utilities for moving data around include one called DD?
No, sir. I'll just warn you up front. I'm not a computer person. I'm one of those pesky end users who expects the software to do the work for me. So I don't have. It's a Mac Mini i5 processor, and I'm running Ventura on it.
That's definitely out of my wheelhouse. I haven't touched Apple in since a very long time ago. There's a number of command line tools, mainly for like Unix-oriented systems. And one of them is DD. You can take some data and just blast it at the raw sector level onto a drive, and that includes writing directly to a USB memory stick.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not actually using a USB memory stick. I just downloaded the ISO file to my system drive. And VirtualBox just basically wants to know the file location, and so you steer it to that file, and then it tries to open it, I guess. But, yeah, I don't know. I have a PC, but it unfortunately cratered, so I'm kind of relying on the Mac right now. It's a good computer, very stable, never had any problems with malware. But anyway, another reason I'm using Mac is because it supports the audio and video applications that I want. Otherwise, I'd probably try to learn Unix. I've heard so many good things about it. None of the headaches that people complain about with Windows. But anyway, I'll figure it out. But
There's just one thing I want to add, which is appropriate since we had someone representing CTRS on the net earlier. I'm trying to put together a P25 in net, maybe once a week, once a month, something like that. This would obviously be Part 97 amateur radio, not Part 90. I'm trying to scrape together. I expect a very small turnout, but for the few folks that have the gear, I think it could be fun.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be pretty interesting. I had a TYT that was allegedly Part 97 approved, and I couldn't get it to work. What I found out from some other folks who had the same issue was that it had some firmware issues. It wasn't the TYT model that most people use. It's not the popular one, but I ended up with an Anytone. Seems to work great. I'm really impressed with the design, but I don't think it's Part 97.
And I apologize, there's too many acronyms floating around. So Part 95 and 97, I'm referring to, or Part 90, I'm referring to the FCC rules and regulations. 97 is amateur radio. 95 is like GMRS, FRS, and Part 90 is commercial.
Yeah, I got them switched around. I meant Part 90 for all of those comments, not Part 97.
Then on top of that, you've got P25 or APCO Project 25, which is a whole different animal.
Yeah. Well, Part 90 radios are great, but I guess the whole, it doesn't really, they weren't really designed, well, not necessarily Part 90, but I'm going to say trunk radio was definitely not designed with amateur radio in mind. It's a totally different thing, and it's actually I don't know, the way you program those things and the way they're structured in terms of user groups, doesn't really lend itself well to amateur use. But it's kind of fun to see people using those things and setting it up. It could be useful, I don't know, under dire circumstances to have all those radio systems you can muster.
One frustration I have, or I guess a disappointment, was when DMR started becoming popular in the amateur circles. The way they set up talk groups is they pinned them to a particular time slot. It's like you've got this 2 time slots open, two talk paths on the same channel, the same RF channel. If the one time slot's busy, just use the group on the other one, but they're not they're not set up to work that way. And that was a big disappointment that I had with DMR in particular.
Yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me either, but go figure. I mean, once somebody starts, establishes some kind of a routine like that, or I don't know, it's kind of hard to get people to change. But yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I mean, to be honest, the way those radios are programmed, it doesn't make a lot of sense using it the way amateur operators use it in the first place. I mean, there's a whole lot of features in the programming that you would never utilize for amateur use.
This is true. The radio I'm talking on right now, I've got a bunch of stuff turned off because it's not relevant, or could be like tones, alert tones would be just downright obnoxious to have those turned on.
Well, yeah, this may not be a popular opinion, but, the individual user IDs, not the groups, but, the individual users, I've known some people who will build a big, long list, and, it's really cool, when you have an enterprise system and you want to know who's transmitting and you want to, not only be able to identify them, but kind of rearrange everything on the fly. But with amateur use, does that really matter? I don't know. Some people disagree with me, but I don't think you need to program that in. I think just having groups is probably sufficient.
I agree on that generally. So one thing with ASU Fusion that was cool is every time you key up, you're sending out your call sign. That's a handy thing to supplement with verbalizing your call sign as well. And then comparing that to some random radio ID. The radio needs to know who it is so that it can answer, but outside of that, it's not that important.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that could be easily updated, but then you'd have to they want to make things backwards compatible. So, just to think about the fact that people are still using tone squelch is kind of mind-boggling. There's tone squelch and then digital squelch, and it works, but tone squelch is kind of obsolete, I think.
Well, that's the problem. It works very well, and I think that's why it's still around.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. If something's working, then maybe keep it simple. If it's working, don't try to make it more complicated than it needs to be. That's actually a good philosophy.
AI5JT for ID. If anyone else is listening in, you're more than welcome to jump in.
Kilo Juliet 5 AYE.
AYE, go right ahead.
Don't forget your roots. They go back to before World War II, to even before World War I. It was simpler then. It's going to be simpler in the future when things get tough, if they do. Don't forget that. Have a good day.
And KI5KAT also listening.